The world of Frieren is blighted by one major antagonist, an evil creature that wears the skin of humans just to deceive them, a blight that our central party exterminate on sight. But are they harmless little guys or just truly evil incarnate? A lot of people want to believe these demons aren't all bad. There's humanization of them, personification, thinking they're a defined species. These creatures talk like humans, they utilize magic, but there's something just off about them. I mean, outside of the whole eating people thing. In the present of Frieren's story, they're largely defeated in a fairly pitiful state as fragmented groups. Some people would really prefer that they were secretly more shades of grey than evil monster, and that's a problem. Why can't the demons ever be redeemed? You know, we've got dwarves, we've got elves, we've got humans. How do demons fit into all of this? Can we just slot them in as another group? If raised right, could you just take one of them out and buy them a meal instead of them eating people? It would all be fine. They could start to fit into society. Every time that demons actually show up, it's kind of proven wrong. They're not people, and that fits Frieren's themes perfectly. That's the biggest problem with them. Demons in Frieren remind me of that old saying about not understanding an animal, even with perfect communication. Because of a lack of common reference points, of a shared interpretation of the world. You can't humanize demons, and trying to do so causes problems with them. This is what's wrong with the demons in Frieren. The discomfort that comes from something human-looking being an all-out monster. We have to start with how demons in this show are different, and how they shouldn't be looked at as an othered group, but for what they are. Demons in Frieren aren't some satanic monster, hiding in a bush and trying to tempt people into doing evil. They're just predators. Specifically, the definition we get from Frieren is beasts that can speak. As defined by Flammy, since nobody, including demons, ever questions this, we can probably take it as roughly true. The demons in Frieren don't understand human emotions. You can't map them onto the demons. They're incapable of understanding humans and the human view of the world, and vice versa. They're like trying to talk to a predator. They just don't get it, and most aren't interested in it. Where they're interesting, despite being a more alien group, is that they're a counterpoint to Frieren. She's often blind to human niceties too, though she does kind of get it. At least she knows enough to know what she's lacking. The demons aren't social creatures. They lack understanding of how those social groups work. They're an out-and-out predator of the other races. A beast, not a person. They just, you know, they look like people. They're the ultimate predator. The hang-up there is, yeah, they're identical to people, especially in the right circumstances. So it's easy to over-personify them, to assume that there's more. Demons invite you to think that there's more, but the show goes out of its way to prove to you that there's just not. That these things are just unrepentant beasts. What they are does serve Frieren's dramatic themes, though. Dramatically, the role of the demons isn't really to provide a redemption point or a shades of grey kind of interpretation. It's to be a demon and help explore the themes of connection, of stagnation, and of humanity. This isn't to say demons don't have nuance or complexity, especially the more developed ones, but they work differently. One of the better differences to see how these demons fit the story's themes is in how they function socially and with magic, where they're the most direct counterpoint to Frieren. The demons are predatory monsters, yeah, but doesn't their use of magic imply that there's something more there? They can use magic and they can do it quite well, but they have these clear shortcomings, and those shortcomings come from how demons socially function, with ties into Frieren's wider themes. The first thing to note is they're not as multifaceted as Frieren and her party. We see across demon fights that they're a bit more focused, like Qual and Zoltrak or Lungener's group each having a specific power. Even Aura has a complete focus on her little scales. They have one tool which helps them find prey, and while it works, there's no need to develop outwards and work on other magic. Their evolution doesn't incentivize it for the pure sake of creativity or fun, like making flowers with a spell. It's more about what can help them with their core function. However, human and elf mages use magic for stuff like this, and like this. They lack creativity, that spark. The way Frieren uses magic to bond, it's just empty to them. And demons constantly die or get yeeted because of irony over this too. It's like the leading cause of death for demons. Irony in Frieren. Qual gets killed by his own special attack after it became commonplace. Aura uses the scales of obedience on herself after Frieren's false manner tricks her. Lugner, who isn't paying attention to weak mages because of demon hierarchies, gets sucker punched. They've really got to watch out a bit more for that irony. Demon Demons are higher strength, often with magic, but they're not as good at the wider array of magic they don't need to hunt. They're an apex predator, but that breeds certain oversights and weaknesses. The second thing with their magic is their focus on mana levels. They can hide their mana, but since this is viewed as a status thing, why would they? It tells us something about their interrelations, that they're essentially just comparing strength, competing with each other like two predators competing for fertile hunting ground. Even Lugner's group's communications seem more based around what each can do for themselves, and not around a broader bond. Interestingly, it's both of these fallbacks that Frieren uses in combat with the demons. But, in a sense, their flaws are exploited by Frieren, being able to make those personal connections. Frieren exploits the single-mindedness of Thor's magic through studying it, with other mages through social work towards a joint goal, towards something beyond just a kill. She learns to suppress her mana through being taken on as an apprentice by a human, a kind of cross-species relation that demons just can't do. The way Frieren exploits the demons to do this is thematically playing on the same things that Frieren is all about. Nothing about how your average demon interacts or views the world implies that they're much more developed than that. A very well-developed predator, one that is intricately designed to prey on everyone else, for exploiting any weakness that they can. This serves the themes of Frieren perfectly. Not every evil monster needs to be subverted. Thing is, it's fine. It better serves the story this way. They aren't designed to collaborate, to share in fun, to do much more than secure a hunting ground and take advantage of prey. They're naturally skilled in magic, but too uncurious to chase Frieren's type of magic. Too uncurious and uninterested in those sides of life. It's a great contrast to Frieren, who has found so much strength in self-discovery. We see this lack of curiosity in how they interact with each other too. They have a hierarchy that largely comes down to strength, to how well they're doing as a predator. They only ever talk about each other in terms of what they can get from it. Though what is interesting is they're not pure evil, just self-interested, and their interest lays somewhere different to most humans. They can communicate with each other, but it's more of an alien culture than a non-existent one, which is a much more interesting take on a more developed magical beast than just making them more and more human. Even if it's a problem for identifying with them. Something completely alien to human mentality isn't relatable, but it doesn't need to be closer to be effective. Like Frieren struggled with understanding some elements of humanity, so did demons, but most don't notice, most don't care. They're a bit happier with their lives as is. Alien as it might be, demons in Frieren function more like predatory animals than something with a higher intelligence. Just because they look human, it doesn't mean that they are. Something that I think we have to come back to with Frieren's demons is that old saying about talking to a lion. Even if you could perfectly understand each other in language, you wouldn't understand a word of the conversation, because your reference points, your view of the world, would be so diametrically opposed. Demons lack any of the reference points for how to see the world. The big problem with demons in Frieren is that half the audience just wants a simplistic, relatable villain, not a skinwalker. They can communicate, but they lack the same emotional intelligence, context. Their world is just too different. So why do some constantly humanize them? People overhumanize the demons, but that's kind of the point. The story plays with overhumanizing the demons, uses the natural urge to give human intelligence and thought process to human-looking things. It even makes Himmel do it. The naturally human thing of assuming something that looks human is. And this flashback really should explain why the demons are the way that they are, why you can't over-personify them. It's kind of what it's there for. Stark has the same reaction to the peace envoys. In our first real exploration of demons as a creature, in that first flashback, we see a family and Himmel take pity on one, taking a demon in because they assume something shaped like a human must be at least a little bit human. The scene with the child-looking demon plays on the audience's natural inclination to try and reason with a villainous figure like demons, to find humanity in them. And a part of the audience do the exact same thing that Himmel does, assuming they're not a monolith. There must be something more. Surely they could be made to understand a world and outlook alien to them with the right upbringing. The demon girl is the first example we get, a harsh, brutal example that's trying to explain this concept to the viewer. But the natural tendency to personify it gets in the way because it's supposed to. This flashback is supposed to show you what the demons are. And even as a character following along with the viewer's thoughts as we go, it's pretty clear The flashback is about playing with that personification, so is half the stuff Lugnus says. His whole trick as a peace envoy is playing on that expectation. It's what's interesting about these demons, but it also means they're easy to over-personify, to attach feelings to, and emotions that just aren't there. Like they're chairs, or this is a Pixar movie. What if that stick had thoughts and friends and stuff and had Tom Hanks' voice? Well, they don't have any of that stuff, and the demons don't have the capacity to form bonds with their prey. They're different. I think where some people run into a problem with these demons is wanting to empathize with them, wanting to find a heart in them. It's at the core of thinking Frieren is a racist or a grudge, not just a particularly obsessive pest control worker. But dramatically, there's nothing wrong with having a fully evil character. In fact, it works better for Frieren's themes, and a lot better than if they were just another race. Although seeing them through the perspective of Frieren the Slayer could be part of that. The main way that we see demons is through the lens of the protagonist, Frieren, and often her lens is this view of demons. But I mean, obviously, the show's called that. It's not called this. Frieren's relationship with demons is often categorized in one way, and one way alone. Frieren the Funeral, the Slayer, the very angry mage. I mean, I've made those jokes in some videos too. They're easy gags, but Frieren's relationship with demons is more complicated than just a hatred of a species. In a fight with stronger demons like Quall, she even offers him a painless death in some kind of respect for his magic. Narratively, the demons are a counterpoint to Frieren. They help to explore the show's themes. There's a constant element of discovering this humanity from Frieren, discovering yourself through others and the world. It's the thing that demons are psychologically incapable of doing, though. They're very capable of faking emotions, but they can't genuinely understand them. Elves, on the other hand, almost have the opposite affliction. Zuri claims to not value human connection, but clearly forms emotional bonds with her students, remembering their spells. Frieren doesn't understand the bonds that she made in the party at first, but she did make them, and clearly continues to get something from them too. Demons, on the other hand, are kind of a dramatic opposite. They can make things that look like bonds, that superficially resemble what humans expect. They even learn to use words that sound like it, but there's nothing actually there. They can't genuinely experience anything like that. It's just the superficial aspects. Since Frieren is on such a journey of self-discovery through this, it makes the demons a more interesting counterpoint to her. Thematically, even in universe, her approach is simple enough. Her attitude towards them, it betrays her age. Frieren is from an era before the defeat of demons at large. It will naturally give her a different attitude towards them. We haven't experienced the scourge of demons in the way that she has. That's why she's constantly right about their inhumanness compared to those who grew up after the defeat of the Demon King. In an age of some stagnation, some suspicions have been lost to memory. Similarly, as the viewer primarily sees the surviving demons who are kind of on the ropes, it's not the same image of these creatures that she has, not the same approach. Even if we get some details in the flashbacks, Frieren the Funeral, she's a massacre of demons, and now she's so successful, parts of the audience end up viewing them a little bit differently. But Frieren isn't supposed to be an unfeeling monster. She's right about the monsters. It's fine to have characters that are just opposed to the protagonist, especially if it plays into the show's themes. The problem some have with demons in Frieren is that they seem unredeemable, but do they have that potential to be more? Frieren in Large is about the titular character's ability to grow, to become something more. Who says the demons can't too? There are demons out there with a wider interest. Fundamentally, wanting demons with the capacity to grow just doesn't work. Then they wouldn't be demons. Not everyone needs to be redeemable. Demons can try to better understand their prey, to study them, to emulate them, often just in the aims of being better predators. How would fitting into a human society better help with that? What would be the point? Outside of making some viewers less uncomfortable, a demon who is capable of forming these stronger bonds with others, who can achieve some semi-balance of genuine understanding, interaction, they wouldn't be a demon anymore. They're beasts who can talk, but don't understand the meaning of language. But is this nature or nurture? The initial flashback tries to explain this as simply as possible, I think. It's not possible to nurture it out of a demon. They will default to their base instincts. They aren't human. Demons are humanoid, like a lot of other races in Frieren, but they're not really the same as other humanoids. They're magical beasts. Some of them evolve a little further, sure, but the majority don't. They're extremely good predators, and they don't need to evolve. They're successful at being unhuman. There's one of those memes that you see around a lot, it relates to the uncanny valley. That thing about humans finding representations of humans that are close to us, but a bit off, kind of frightening. And that there might be an evolutionary reason for this, that at some point there's been a reason to fear something that can take on human form, but isn't human. The demons are kind of that. They're predators, ones that can dress themselves up like humans to prey on them, say all the right words to trick you, but they're just out to eat. Not for some grandiose B-movie evil plan, but because it's in their nature. Those who find the problem with demons being called predators might have just fallen for it too. They're smart enough to even master speech and pretend to be able to communicate, but they're incapable of fully understanding the nature of humanity or sentience. Even if they're interested in it, it's something they inherently lack. Or so much of Frieren explores humanity through connection, through bonds, through love. Demons can't do any of this. They're implicitly locked out of the things that bring fulfillment by their very nature. They won't feel this, but they won't get this either. It's a well-chosen form of villain for a show which deals with so much loss and connection. A demon could never appreciate this kind of beauty, and Frieren's strict hatred of the entire species is because of this. They're thematically opposite. The discovery from Frieren's journey with Himmel and then with the new party, it's exactly what demons are incapable of ever achieving.